Alec Sunrise has come a long way since he grew up here on the Hay River Reserve in the Northwest Territories. As chief of the Katlodeeche First Nation, he's giving us the tour. But memories surface that take him back to a much darker time.
I had my first experience of drinking when I was about 10 years old, and I started smoking when I was 9. And my drinking got worse when I was in about mid-teens. My grades were pretty low. I was still in grade 5 at 15. There are a lot of
Soon
things.
Alec was deep into alcoholism, breaking into homes to steal what he could to pay for his habit.
I ended up in jail, and the longest sentence I had was 2 years less a day, and that was the hardest experience I had, to be again away from home, and that's the hard part.
He says his lifestyle wasn't unusual in those days and estimates alcoholism had about 80% of his community in its grip. He remembers one night in particular when he was smoking on his bed and almost died.
Passed out and I burnt my mattress. It was a winter time, and I got up just in time, and the house was just full of smoke. And I dragged the mattress outside, and then I put snow on my mattress there and put the fire out.
Although he still bears the scars from that experience, it took the death of his best friend's wife to finally spark a change in his lifestyle.
And I went over to see him. He was in pretty bad shape, and he was moaning in the loss of his wife. And for me, it was, I stood by his bed, and I had totally nothing to offer him. And for whatever reason, I went back to my room, and I went on my knees right in the hospital bed, and I prayed to God. I said, Lord, all I want is to get to know you bit by bit and step by step.
He couldn't have predicted what would happen next. Alec began to feel a presence in the room and heard a voice speaking to him. It was a voice that would stay with him over the months to come.
When you go through something like this, all alone, and the most difficult part is of just not knowing what I'm getting into. And sometimes Christianity can be that way, and it's a fearful experience for some. But in a way, it told me that no parents, no relative, no friends, no priest, no bishop, no pope will ever get you to heaven except Jesus.
Next, he says, the voice told him to read the Bible from Matthew chapter 12. But one particular verse really struck him, which said, "He will not crush those who are weak or quench the smallest hope."
And when I came to that portion of where I looked at the smallest hope, and I thought, my hope is so small at that time. And I thought, if there was a small hope for me, maybe there was hope. And then it just like a light went on for me at that time. I remember, and I thought, hey, maybe there's hope. And I began just to weep and cry.
Alec quit drinking and began listening to the voice which he believed was God speaking to him. It told him to go to church, and one in particular.
I questioned it, and so my defense was, I said, well, I don't dress up like them, because I always considered them a very fancy church. Me, that was good for nothing, Indian, go there. It wasn't, I just didn't fit in. The only condition that I had, was this voice said, is the prayer I prayed in the hospital, where the last part of my prayer was that I want to get to know God bit by bit and step by step. If I went, I will hear that prayer.
Alec said it was the first time he went to church listening.
So I listened. And after they had some singing, and then there was some time for testimonies. At that time, they did that a lot. And I remember a lady, but I don't know her name. Her last few words were, we all, she included everybody, we all have to know God, bit by bit, step by step. I was probably the only one that ever cried and just listening to that.
Now looking back 29 years later, Alex is amazed at where that budding faith journey took him. He lists the changes: free from alcoholism, no longer a thief, free from cigarette addiction and swearing.
I'm amazed at the work of God on the inside and the things that he's dealing with on emotional things. And he took care of the physical. And then later on he began to deal on the inside of my life, of dealing with this terrible anger I used to have. And all this other stuff that that I was caught with, pornography and all this stuff. I mean, a mind, a person's life can be damaged by all this stuff. Some people would say, they're so deep into the things that they can't get out. Well, I thought, well, why can't I say that? So I wrote in my Bible that I'm so deep in God, I can't get out. But it's gone. That has changed my life.
Those who knew Alex say they can't believe the changes they've seen in him.
Alex had a rough road as a young person, as most young people have, and to overcome it and to stay away from drinking and coming to know the Lord is something that I've seen him do through the years. And even though I knew the Lord, I've never really knew what they were talking about until a few years ago when I was a born-again Christian. And but watching him through the years and how he's come such a long way has been a big inspiration for me.
Now Chief Sunrise's life has come full circle. He's back in prison again, but this time he comes and goes as a free man. Alec has never forgotten the pain of being locked away for his sins. Now he mentors men in the Hay River prison, hoping they will get a chance to change their lives much earlier than he ever did.
I see myself a lot when I go there. I look at it. There goes me. That could be me. That would have been me. And you're trying to give a glimpse of hope, to a soul or to a person, and that they might walk out that place to knowing that there is hope. And the only hope that I can give them is that to knowing that is Jesus. Do something.
And Alec's time with these young men has had a profound impact. They're impressed a chief would take the time to come visit with them.
Really honored to see him and getting to know God more better, having God in my life. And I like to be with God most of the time now, thinking about God every day.
A Bible study, it's really good. It gives you a different perspective of things, from reality, from being out there than in here. It gives you things to look at in a different way of perspective, and it's just, he has a lot of good stories and a lot of information to give out.
It makes you feel good, that somebody's there and people care about you. Even though we're going through hard times and stuff, have somebody teach us about the Word of God and show us that there's somebody there for us.
It's hard to believe the chief of this 55 square mile reserve started out in prison. His life is very different now, with most days starting at 5 a.m. and sometimes not ending until 2 in the morning. But Alec took a little time out of his hectic schedule to show us some of his traditions, a cookout of local whitefish from the Great Slave Lake. And what are you going to put on the fish? Is it a secret recipe?
No, just straight smoke flavor. That's
we're going to smoke it. The fish looked delicious, but I had to sample it just to make sure.
Very good. Definitely worth waiting for, Alec.
Before we left, Alec asked for one thing, that those who hear his story remember others in his community that are still trapped in destructive lifestyles. Because he, more than anyone, knows that hope for them is just one prayer away. In Hay River, Northwest Territories, Cheryl Weber, 100 Huntley Street.